The nature of this spiritual understanding or awakening or insight, whatever we want to call it, is usually misunderstood. Somehow, it is associated with a state of perfection that a human mind attains or achieves. So, in that reference, I would like to define what a sage is, because I have often used that word, sage. What does a sage means? A sage is an ordinary person with conditioning like an ordinary person, but with the total understanding that he or she is not their conditioning. That is the only difference. So, the result is that the sage lives spontaneously in the moment, whatever moment brings. If moment brings pleasure, the sage enjoys pleasure without any guilt or resistance. He completely enjoys the pleasure. If the moment brings pain, he or she completely accept the pain without resistance. The result is that the pleasure experienced in the moment does not lead to pride or arrogance or seeking of more pleasure. And the pain experienced in the moment does not lead to regret, guilt, shame, or trying to resist more and more pain. In other words, sage experiences pain totally or pleasure totally in the moment. But the sage does not suffer. A person without the understanding associates actions of oneself as personal doing and actions of another also as another's doing. And in that, a relationship established which is very limited, which is based on certain assumptions. Sage experiences the same turbulence, emotional turbulence, as any of us do. The human aspect more or less remains the same. Before understanding or after understanding. The only difference is that the person no more gets caught up trying to change himself to become a perfect image as imagined, which is usually the cause of suffering. Someone like Ramana Maharishi was a calm person as a child also. His nature was just like that. He was calm. It's not that he had to meditate for long hours to achieve calmness. Although he did show reactions sometimes, but they were to things that we would not even consider. For example, if somebody offered him food without offering it to others, he would get upset. Or if the toilets in the ashram were not clean, he would get upset. I think there was one time when a couple of people entered the ashram premises trying to rob the ashram. And one of them hit Ramana's leg, one of his leg with a stick. And Ramana, he replied, he reacted in anger and he said, "Now hit my other leg and take whatever you need to take." And people in the ashram were concerned. They said, we must we must find these people, these thieves, and hand them over to the police, to the law. And Ramana said, no need. That was his nature. It's not that self-realization or insight or awakening made him like that. Someone like Nisargadatta Maharaj was a little impulsive. He was impulsive by nature, but his impulse rose in the moment like a current, and he expressed whatever he wanted to express, and the next moment he would be laughing. One time, someone asked him a question, and he got upset, and he said, "You have been coming here for so many years, and you're asking this stupid question. How can you be so stupid?" And the man replies, "Maharaj, if I'm stupid, that is how God made me." And he laughed, and his laughter was the loudest. Sometimes he would be restless, sometimes he would be smoking. And he had not much concern with what people were thinking about him in a given moment, of how they saw his habit or his impulsivity. He was not bothered at all about any of that. He didn't need to be a certain way to get accepted. He accepted himself. And so was Ramana. Ramana accepted himself. So Nisargadatta Maharaj's nature was more or less like that. The only difference between the sage and the quote unquote ordinary person, ordinary person is a concept and so is sage. Sage is also a concept. There is no perfect sage. So the difference is that sage does not live in time, sage lives in the moment. He enjoys in the moment, but he does not crave enjoyment in time. He suffers in the moment, but he does not remain with his suffering in time. Nobody has any control over what arises in the next moment, pleasure or pain. This message only says that acceptance of this fact can bring a lot of peace. Even the intellectual understanding of this fact brings a lot of peace. And when this goes into the heart, then that peace becomes one's anchor, even when the waves are rising. It is not to say that the emotions are not experienced. Sages can be very angry people. I mean, I have seen all sages, all gurus very angry sometimes. And I get angry sometimes too. But the anger does not stick. That is the only difference. So, what happens? The result of this is life becomes simplified. Because when we are continuously identified with the highs and lows of emotions, we are just completely caught up in the karmic cycle. Every interaction is bringing reactions. Those reactions are creating misunderstandings. Those misunderstandings are further fueling more misunderstanding. It's like a snowball effect. But if we can be quiet in one moment and peaceful in one moment, we will know the right thing that is to be done. And the right thing is not what world decides. Right thing is what I decide in a given moment. Because the fact is that it is not me who's making a decision, it is awareness that is making the decision, and I'm just the instrument. So, if in the moment I can see how this emotional upheaval that I experience is causing this snowball effect and disrupting relationships, disrupting my peace, if I can see it, if I can totally see it with total vision, how this whole thing is expanding, in that instant, I can be free of it. I do not have to train my mind to be free of it. Because if I train my mind, I'm teaching my mind a skill. There is nothing wrong in teaching the mind to be quiet, but it just takes you so far because the nature of mind is movement. So it will look for the next upheaval. It is like putting a restless child to sleep. The child will just not go to sleep. And the moment you think, the child is quiet, you'll get up. That moment, you'll start crying. I used to experience this with my daughter so much. My daughter now she's 15 years old. When she was small, she used to be a very light sleeper. And every time I was the one in charge of putting her to sleep. So I would put her to sleep and she would just get up after half an hour of work. I would put her to sleep, cover her properly, and I would hear this crying sound, and then I would rush back immediately and again do the whole thing. And sometimes it would take 2, 3 hours. But there was never any anger. There cannot be any anger. There was not this irritation was not there because the whole process was so enjoyable. It was so delicate. Similarly, if we can see our minds like that, and we can hold our minds like that delicately, unfortunately, sometimes we are very brutal to our mind. The moment we experience any hurt, we immediately come up with opposite as the solution. Ah, I get attached. I always experience pain and suffering. So let me detach. You see, opposite side of the same coin. Attraction and rejection. Di- uh, yes, they are both the same energy. They're the same movement. They may appear in two different directions, but they're the same movement. So if we can see that, that is what I mean by total vision. If we can see what game the mind is playing, we understand that it's time, identification with time, which is leading to pain. And sage does not live in time. But in the moment, anything can happen. Even with sage, any reaction can happen. All emotions can happen because nature is not selective. And people who look peaceful all the time are either good at hiding it or somehow we have misunderstood because we are trying to see what we want to see in them. So sage acts and reacts according to their conditioning. But the sage does not get caught up. He or she engages, they engage, but they do not get involved. And even if the involvement happens for some reason, they pull out. Sometimes that is seen as a sign of selfishness, but it's not actually selfishness, it's preservation of peace. Because a sage knows that if I am at peace, then the other also will be at peace. And if that requires distancing, then that's what they do. But when we expect the gurus, the masters, the teachers to behave in a particular way, we come with conditioning, we come with expectations. Then it's very likely that we get disappointed. All the masters are just pointing to one thing. Just to conceptualize, I'm calling it a thing, but they're only pointing to that. Because that's where the highest knowledge is. That is the only way the mind gets quiet. Otherwise, mind keeps swinging between attraction, aversion, between the dualistic opposites. And this continuous dance wastes energy, as Chitta Krishnamurti would say, because it is resistance. Things should be like this, things should be like that. They should not be like this, they should not be like that. But life has its own design, it has its own flow. And acceptance of that flow is peace. So even if a sage reacts in a given moment, they do not hold, which means they can certainly apologize, but they will not create any guilt or remorse for their action. Neither will they blame or condemn the other. The insight that came to me was, do not get caught up in the form. Form is helpful up to a certain extent, but see that which is being pointed. All right, we can take questions now. Anybody would like to ask anything, you can raise your hand and I will unmute you. Yes, Martina, just hold on, please. Oh. Bunty, I will just come back to you.
Okay.
I will just come back to you. Sorry, this is a bit confusing today.
Okay. Are we on?
Yes, Martina.
Okay. Did
Can
we
you
finally
hear me?
connect? Yes, I can hear you.
Wait, you're not audible. Hold on 1 second.
Huh. Testing 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Huh.
Just give me 1 second, please.
Okay. Oh, good. Thank you for that. I'm being told here that I'm actually heard by someone on the panel here.
Somehow your voice
We
is
hear
not
you.
audible to me. I think there is
Oh.
some problem with my equipment. It's not you. So just give
Mm.
me a moment, please. Let me just. Yes, Martina.
Hello.
Yes. Oh, hello. Yes.
Oh,
Yes,
good.
finally.
Yay.
How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you.
All right.
I'm glad. I know how that feels. Everyone
Ah,
waiting.
yes.
Yes. So, um, kind of an interesting, weird flow going through life right now.
Mhm.
80 years ago, this body was birthed.
Yeah.
And so today, May 25th, is the birth of this body. And I'm supposed to feel old, but what is participating in life is not old. And the more and more that I've been working with your concepts of not clinging to the highs and the lows, that's been very important. Um, there's something about not clinging to being old, even though my body restricts me from many things that I used to be able to do. Um, the consciousness is um, awakening even more, I guess I would put it that way.
Yeah.
Um, I lived at a Buddhist monastery for a while, for about a year, and it was really a profound experience. I didn't learn too much, but it was a very profound experience. And but the master monk wrote beautiful poetry, and there was one line that I've carried with me for decades now. That in his poetry, he was sitting by the river, and he realized that he was so happy in nature and that he was so happy to not be involved in hot entanglements. And there was something about those two words together, hot entanglements, that if uh, I worked with that for a long time, but still there are hot entanglements. It's the ego mind just wanting to express itself and be right. It's
Yeah.
pretty much about the ego always having to be right. And for me to simplify after all these years, um, it's a simple question: do I want to be right or do I want to be at peace? And that's one that I work with as a mental, because my mind's involved in that.
Yeah.
It's almost kind of retraining the mind that you were speaking about.
Yeah.
Um, the other thing that has been arising in this continued evolving is whatever is looking out of these eyes through this 80-year-old body has nothing to do with this 80-year-old body. It's something else that that is starting to perceive life in a totally different way.
Yeah.
And I can tell I get close to it because my voice starts to go into an emotional. One of the profound things that has come out of since I've connected with the satsang with you is my brother, who's my teacher now and continues to be my teacher. And you talk about highs and lows. I mean, I'll send you my brother because he could teach you how not to cling to highs and lows because you could get seasick clinging to the highs, the highs and the lows. But his body is trashed, but his mind is not. And so here's another example for me that his body is crumpled and 125 pounds, and he used to be just under 6 feet. But in this crumpled body is this awareness that's really profound. And an example of there's no, the mind has a lot of excuses for not becoming aware, but he could use a million excuses, but something has happened within him.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I've been playing with is just this question. It's only it's kind of a playful mind question. Not that I'm hungry for the answer, curious. We were talking about the experiencer or experiences. So life is just a series of experiences. That's what we go through.
Yeah.
Is the experiencer separate from the experience? Was what the question that I was playing with.
Yeah.
So I will turn that over to you, and thank you everyone for being here. I'm so happy everyone's here.
Thank you for sharing that, Martina. That was beautiful. And, you know, it's it's interesting to see how your brother is accepting this reality, probably at his age, in this condition when he's going through such a hard time physically. But psychologically, he is not all that identified. And which I think is a sign of insight awakening, because generally what happens is like we have this grand plan for life, my body has to be fit because I have to do this, I have to do that, which is fine, which is life's flow. But you never know what next moment brings, pleasure or pain. So that acceptance is the understanding. Now, regarding your question about the experiencer, the concept says there is no experiencer. There is just experiencing happening. Because who is the one that saw Martina as a child, that saw Martina growing up, becoming a teen, then becoming a young lady, then, coming to this age of wisdom and peace? Who is the one that is witnessing all that? That witness is not separate from what is being witnessed. That is the whole concept. The notion of the separate self, the notion of separate experiencer only arises when there is an emotional charge, where it seems as if things are being viewed from a perspective, which means the separative mind says things should be like this, they should not be like that. But, when we rest into our most natural state, into the awareness, there is no experiencer. It's all experiencing. There is no separation. There is no subject object.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
Yes, Bunty.
Good evening, Jagjot.
Good evening.
Thank you for your teachings. That you make me join my job again. Actually,
Thank you. Thank you. How are you
okay.
doing?
I'm doing nice, very well. I just want to ask one question. After this awakening or spiritual understanding, the concept of the good deed and the bad deed is now very much indifferent to me. For
Yes.
me, there is no good deed or no bad deed. Well, I feel this very strange kind of feeling that everything is happening with the grace of God or the universe, and then we are not responsible for this concept of a good deed or bad deed. What's your take on this?
Yes. So you just recited the verse from Bhagavad Gita, which
Okay,
says,
I have not.
which
Okay,
says the Bhagavad Gita says that you are not capable of committing either or good, a good deed or a bad deed. It is just your mind labeling things based on the assumption that it is a separate doer. And Bhagavad Gita also says that the ego deluded thinks of himself as the doer. When things happen, there are innumerable forces acting on a human organism. And the human organism, which is the mind body organism, with its limited intellect, cannot account for all these forces. So, surrender to these forces brings acceptance of the outcome. That means outcome may be in my favor or it may not be in my favor. Whatever may be the case, my peace will not be disrupted because my peace is not dependent on my preference of outcome. That is the thing. Now, again, if the outcome happens as as I expect, I will be happy. I will rejoice. I will take pleasure in it, but I will not see it as me being experiencing the pleasure. It is simply the source bringing the pleasure and experiencing and enjoying the pleasure. Or if the outcome is not as per what I expect, then I do experience sadness. I do experience a little pain, but that is not me experiencing a pain. That is again source. So I do not get caught up in this pleasure and pain game. I experience it from moment to moment with acceptance and I simply move. So life becomes simplified in that way when everything is seen as a happening and not as personal doing.
okay, thank you.
Thank you, Banti. Yes, David.
Hi, thank
Hey,
you.
how are you?
Really appreciate. I'm good. I'm good. Thank you for asking. How are you?
I'm very good. Where are you
Yeah.
from?
I'm from New York City. I'm in Central Park with my
I, s-
dog. So
I see.
yeah, first time. So I'm glad to be here. I've listened to a lot of your talks, interviews, podcasts. So it's great. Um, yeah. Cosmic law led me here. um, no choice here. Um, just two things. One of the things you said earlier really resonated about. I don't know if you said we can get stuck trying to transform the mind, and then it just becomes a further
Yeah.
sort of doing, fixing,
Yes.
rather than maybe being,
Yeah.
which is challenging because I do a lot of meditation practice with different teachers. I mean,
Hmm.
Theravada, Mahayana, Tibetan, uh, as well as other non-dual practices, and I need to rest. Um, but yet it's the practices that have allowed me to have some of the wisdom that you're speaking to shedding some of the layers. So it's a bit of a conundrum. I mean, I understand it. I hear the teaching very deeply. Or maybe it's my own fear of letting go of this wanting to or seemingly believing I can do something that's going to fix me, liberate me, so on and so forth, whatever word. So I see the trap, but nonetheless, so there's that. And then the second question about sadness, you said sadness comes from source. Lots of sadness is coming up. I'm also trying to not attach, not turn away, allow, relax into it, trust that it's happening and flowing as the law is determining. But and maybe that's my answer. Just allow it, allow it, allow it. But it just feels like so oppressive, and I don't know if it has to do with everything that I'm doing and what's going on, and I'm willing to accept it and trust. I'm also a psychotherapist, so I have that sort of more uh, psychological way. Is this a depression? And I can see it beyond that, but just wondering what your thoughts were around that. I mean, I already have a sense of what you'll say, and so
Yeah.
you know, uh, so yeah, I don't know. Any transmissions would be appreciated. So
Yes. So I think so. My take on practices is that all practices are beautiful. In fact, I do a set of practices myself, like yoga practices. The only difference is with this understanding, the nature of doing the practice, the intent of doing the practice changes. In fact, there is no intent anymore. The practices are simply done for their own sake. Now, when I'm doing the practice, for example, when I'm sitting in meditation, I do not start that I have to sit there for a fixed period of time. I do not follow the conventional rules as such. I do not set a fixed time. If I find a moment where my mind is restful, I just sit and close my eyes. Sometimes in the middle of this talk, also it has happened that I've closed my eyes, or I've just, absorbed myself into that area because I found the opportunity. So the whole idea is that these practices I'm not doing to perfect myself, to achieve a state of mind, a state of perfection, because then I'm just giving mind one more thing to do. As it is, our mind is cluttered with thoughts, 24/7. We are thinking. So we say, the mind says, it comes up with this clever idea that, oh, let me do some practices to make myself quiet. And then out of those 1,000 thoughts, I'm giving one more thought to myself. Now I have 1,001 thought. And the last thought is that let me let me quiet my mind. And the more I try to quiet my mind, as I imagine the mind should be quiet, I'm actually just fighting with all those thoughts. So it would be something like when you are walking in a busy New York road, right? What do? You don't bump at each and every person, right? You just find your way through. That is what the practice is like. Practice is just witnessing of thoughts coming and going. And, if something comes and wants attention, give it attention. If not, then leave it. But there is no fixed uh, methodology to it that I will not think this, I will not think that, I will not allow this, I will not allow that. It is like an open field. It's like everything is allowed. So for me, I can just share my experience in this. And my experience is that I'm not seeking to improve myself or perfect myself, because that keeps my belief that I'm starting with the viewpoint that I'm broken. So in this teaching, especially, the starting point is something different entirely. It is not that we are less and we have to become more or we have to become better. It is simply we are what the conditioning has happened up till now, the condition over which we never had any control. So, whether it is trauma or any kind of complex, um, you know, psychological condition, it happened through a set of variables that were not in my control. As I mentioned earlier, there are so many forces acting on a human organism at a given point that it is very difficult to identify what the outcome will be, what reaction or response will be in a human being. Generally, what happens, we see a set of repeating patterns and we categorize that, okay, this person has this, has that. Now, here we start from a very different assumption. We say you are completely perfect, you are whole, there is nothing wrong. Now do the practices. Now just do the practices. Now enjoy the practices. Enjoy them fully. Do the dance, do the dance as if no one is watching you, as if you are not bothered. And that makes the world of difference. That is where this creativity, this spontaneity comes up in the most beautiful way. But when people restrict, that is when people enforce a code, for example, which is fine because, sometimes we have to do that. But when it becomes our personal practice and we try to enforce a code on ourselves that I must do this because I must achieve something, when the mind is in that energy that I'm less, I have to become more. Somehow I'm not the ideal version of myself, I have to become that ideal version. There is constant identification with what should or should be. And there is not acceptance of what is. So my assertion is that, what I say is that at this very moment, you are precisely what the cosmic law has brought. So there is nothing wrong here. There's nothing to fix. Realize your nature. Like, for example, Nisargadatta Maharaj, his guru told him just one thing. He said, forget all teachings. I'm just telling you, you are Parabrahman. You are pure consciousness. Just remember that. And he took it to heart. Nisargadatta Maharaj, it took him 3 years. It took him 3 years, and he's just stayed with himself, with the feeling of I am. That's it. And he was free. After this, that his brokenness did not bother him. So I'm sure if today he was alive, he would have been categorized with a lot of conditioning. but but he was completely himself. And he said, I live life on my own terms. And so it is not actually about getting the freedom, it is about understanding. It's just this understanding that there is no individual here to fix. The individual that we are trying to fix here, that in sense of individuality itself is the pain point. And that is why we do these practices like meditation, because in that sense of individuality disappears and we feel pleasure for a moment. Now we want that pleasure in our waking state, in our normal daily state. Now I say, as we go through life and life's challenges and interaction with people, and we understand this ability to stay with ourselves, we start experiencing this more and more, this presence more and more. So the conflict gets eliminated by itself. So I act and react according to the conditioning that is here up till now. If something has to change, it will change. So does that make some sense? Hold on, let me. I think you are unmuted again.
Yeah, totally. And I really appreciate that. So thank you. That clarifies a lot. I mean, there is a part of me that wants to push back, but I understand the wisdom in what you're sharing. Wants to push back and say, yeah, but these these practices are designed over many millennia to purify. Again, it's yeah, but in any event, the broader teaching is definitely transmitted. So I appreciate that. But just the one thing, why does Creator then feel the sadness that I'm feeling? Which, again, probably let go, allow, rest in it. I don't need it's the I that wants this.
Mhm.
I don't know, wants to find meaning, purpose, all the other things, wants, rather than it is what it is, as it is, just sadness. But when you said, Creator feels sadness, there's a part of me that wants to be like, yeah, you seem rather blissful right now. uh, where's these promises of bliss? And I'm being facetious, but and I understand that this is a moment in my life, and it's a necessary moment, but I don't like it. So
Yeah, that is fine. That's absolutely fine. We don't have to like these things. We don't have to, we don't have to come to a forceful acceptance of any conditioning. The whole idea here is that whatever arises in the moment is accepted, which means that even if I'm not happy in this given moment, that is okay too. And
right,
and I'll just cover that the last part which you said about sadness. Sadness is your fuel. Sadness is the fuel which the creator has given you so that the creativity that the instrument David, is designed to perform, use it as a fuel. That is your fuel. That is why I say sadness is beautiful. Out of sadness, such creativity has emerged in this world.
mm,
There is a difference between sadness and sorrow. Sorrow gets you drowned. Sorrow is self centered activity. Sadness is not. Sadness is beautiful. Being a
mm,
bit sad, it gives you, it gives you the ability to express yourself. Sorrow will shut you down. Sorrow
right,
will completely hold you in that grip. So, if sadness is happening, probably that is what Creator has intended for you. And maybe it's a pointer for you to try different things. And who knows, you may find that expression, and when its job is done, it will disappear by itself. The acceptance that I do not like it right now is fine, absolutely fine.
right. That's beautiful. I really appreciate. That's what I needed to hear. Thank you for this medicine. It was really beautiful.
Okay, okay, David, take care. All right. We can take one last question. Oh, wait, let me go through the comments first. Okay, Yash has a question. I had a question from before around work earning money. Vivekananda has nice perspective on it, as mentioned in his Karma Yoga works. I would love to hear your insight around this topic. So, this whole idea is that work, earning money, how should we go about this? Now, the Bhagavad Gita, I can just quote Bhagavad Gita, which says that one must do that duty which comes naturally to oneself. And it is foolishness to assume another person's duty. Do do research on this a bit. It is a broader topic. It requires a bit of explanation. I will just say that when you are completely in alignment with what you are doing, there will be no resistance. And the actions, the karma becomes selfless. It becomes nishkam. And that is what brings true joy and peace. Normally, the word karma is associated with a lot of pain and trouble because we usually say the other person is my karmic. That means he's designed to bring me pain. which I do not understand that word. It is being used as a label nowadays. They are my karmic, they are my twin flames, they are my this, they are my that. All all are karmics, dear. Even twin flame is a karmic. So do not get caught up in that. Twin flame will be the worst karmic ever. But anyways, I don't have any knowledge of that subject, so I'm not going to comment on that. But the point being that forget about earning money. First, forget what comes naturally to you. That may require some time. So, in this moment, go with your instinct. Go with whatever you feel you should do in a given moment, because most of us do not have that choice. Especially when we are young and we have to take up work, we try to find whatever we can to sustain and survive. Once you get to that point where you can think beyond that and you can explore different options, you can explore different skills, you will find the right work that will bring you joy, that will bring you peace, that you will feel very natural, which will come very natural to you. Then it is completely different and you will know what is to be done. And money is always a byproduct of work. So when people start with that idea that I have to earn so much money and choose work according to that, they generally experience a lot of unhappiness. But when they go with what they enjoy and they like, and money is not a factor, and they adjust according to whatever capacity they have in a given moment, then a lot of other doors open up. All right. Krishna says, a silly request, but a real one. Jagjot, can you sing Happy Birthday to Sister Bodhi Martina after her sharing? So beautiful. So, Krishna, brother, you will have to do this for us. You are the talent here, man. So we'll finish this with the birthday song from Krishna. All right. Let me just go through uh, rest of the questions. Also, a joke, today's satsang was a failure because Sarthak didn't show up. Yes, and I'm going to pull him up. I'm going to give him a call after this and ask what's happening. Okay, Carlene says, there is no creator. I understood from the Advaita teachings. Yes, actually, that is also true. There is no, the creator and the created are one. But when we are talking, sometimes we have to use concepts. And sometimes we deliberately have to introduce duality to explain things, try to make it simpler. So even most of the masters, you will see that they alternate between creator, source, oneness. So as long as it serves the purpose, it is all good, I think. So Martina says, David, humanity needs more and more awakened therapists. Thank God we don't have like these things. Even this is freedom. Yes, that is true. I think we even need more compassionate spiritual teachers. Sometimes, especially in the East, man, we can be quite brutal. Eastern spiritual teachers can be quite brutal. Okay. Okay. So Krishna says Sarthak left because he got enlightened. Okay, probably next time I'll make him sit and he will do the satsang and I will be the audience. All right. Okay. Okay, Krishna, I'm coming to you now, buddy.
Namaste, everybody. Happy birthday, Martina Jagjot. Okay, here's the ending. Happy birthday, sung in Indian Sargam, okay? Sa sa ri sa ma ga. Sa sa ri sa pa ma. Sa 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 da ma ga ri. Happy birthday to you. The last one is Nini da ma pa ma. Happy birthday, Martina. Happy birthday.
Many happy returns of the day, Martina.
Namaste, everybody.
Our best wishes. All right. Thank you all for being part of this beautiful satsang. And thank you, Krishna, for your ending song. And I wish you all happiness and peace. We'll meet again next week. Take good care of yourself.